wonderful to run the mission with your host, Vinny the Wonderful.
Yeah, I want to talk about Twilight Zone today. It's an old TV show from the 60s, and I understand that there has been remakes. I have a little bit of a memory of watching one of the remakes as a kid. I think was my first introduction, and I knew then it was a remake, but I have no actual memory of how good the remakes were that I watched as a kid. And I know there's another recent one, but you know, Vinny the Wonderful Transmission, I'm usually going all the way back to the source, to the original stuff, and I had to go back and watch the original Twilight Zone. It's started in 1959, but it's mostly considered a 60s TV show. And I grew up on 60s TV shows, even though I did not grow up in the 60s. And there were so many of them that I loved. The Addams Family, I Dream of Jeannie, absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed watching that. I think they got reruns at nighttime when I was a kid. And Twilight Zone, unfortunately, wasn't one of them. I think they were pretty cautious not to show a lot of black and white TV. And Twilight Zone is in black and white, all of the show from the first season to the last one. But it works because, you know, it's a lot of thriller, suspense, horror, terror. And Twilight Zone, it's a very interesting name when you consider the explanation for it, which is given in the opening of, I think, the first season. But in my country, the name of the show was Beyond Imagination, which is also a pretty good title and a well-deserved one, because Twilight Zone is one of the most imaginative, like mind-blowing stuff that I've ever seen. Specifically, season 1. It's absolutely brilliant. Again, don't worry, I'm not gonna give spoilers, even though it is an old show. I've talked about this on the spoilers episode. I'm gonna try to keep everything that I talk about, that I hype about, that I love, spoiler free without ruining it. I'm just gonna talk like about the overall feel that I get, and hopefully you'd feel interested in watching the old one. I don't even know how one go about watching it, because I don't know where, depending on where you live, how you can get to it. But it's pretty great. So I've been watching it for a long time. I watched like a couple of first season episodes, then I stopped, then I came back to it. And the reason I like it so much, as I said, I love 60s TV, but when I'm reading books, I love me some short horror stories. I got my hands on one of those cheap paperback stories that had like a collection of Sherlock Holmes and Edgar Allan Poe and stuff like that, and I've been in love ever since. Like, not only for the mystery and thrill of it, the fact that you get a whole world building and the exciting anticipation of not knowing if the supernatural events are actual supernatural or alien in nature or psychological. I absolutely like that about short stories versus long format books, which once you get into the lore, if you get disappointed with the lore, it kind of ruins the whole experience. And if you know about the lore, you can predict some stuff. It is also an enjoyable journey, but for me, like short gothic horror terror, if I'm not reading art books, that is the type of book that I'm into. And so Twilight Zone really scratches that itch. It really presses that button. Each episode is like packed, like it could have been like a great movie, you know. Those are great stories. Truth be told, some episodes, frequently, they are adapted from books, which is the key to making good stuff consistently. But I'm pretty sure they have original scripts as well. And so I just want to talk about the different seasons. The first season is like most all episodes are absolutely great. I also prefer the opening of the first season. It goes changing with the time. And season 1 has like the most episodes that kind of blew my mind in a good way. And there's even one in particular, which I'm not gonna say that actually felt scary. Like, I'm not talking about jump scares like you get in horror movies. I'm talking about actual psychological fear that I felt watching it, which is super rare. I don't really watch a lot of movies that are horror, but and when I do watch them, they don't scare me as much. But that was like psychological horror done right. And the whole way it begins and ends, like the whole series, again, no spoilers, but I really, really enjoyed. I only have praise about season 1. Then we get to season 2 and season 3. Now, it's still pretty great. Like, you have episodes here and there that are season 1 worthy. They're fantastic. But in season 2 or 3, I don't remember which one, but they start to introduce comedy. And I guess season 1 had humor. It wouldn't be like late 50s, 60s without some level of humor. So it had humor, but I don't think it had straight up like comedy. Like, there is an episode with Dom Rickles. There's an episode with an older Buster Keaton, which incidentally I quite liked it. The one with Buster Keaton I thought was quite creative. But they tried to be like funny, not humorous like it was before. They tried to be like funny. And I don't know if you go into something expecting sci-fi, thriller, horror, if you want that level of like comedy. To me personally, it felt a little bit flat, the comedy that they attempted, but it was alright. Then they had episodes on season 2 and 3. Again, I'm not gonna say each one, which one, but the whole villain, like, where season 1 it was mind-blowing, like intellectual and interesting, season 2 and 3 had a lot of, and the villain was communism. Ooh. And I don't want to get into like politics talk or anything. It's just that their attempt at doing like political commentary, I don't know if it is because we're past the age where people were truly afraid of the Cold War and communism and stuff. It doesn't feel like as horror based as I think they intended, as I think it was received back then. But those are my two kind of criticisms for my tastes of season 2 and 3, is the excessive comedy and the that didn't really felt that funny to me, and the like political stuff that kind of felt out of place. Then we go to season 4, and apparently there was some type of mandate that requested the series to be an hour long, so including the commercial break. So the episodes are 50 minutes long, and the script, you can kind of tell that it is a script for a 20 minutes episode that they stretched into like more than double that. So season 4 still have some pretty good and appealing stories, but it felt unnecessarily long. Like, I don't mind watching a 50-minute horror, thriller, sci-fi story, but most of them felt like it didn't have to be. And then we get to the season 5, which is the last season, and season 5 has most of the episodes that get remembered by popular culture. So episodes that get referenced a lot in other stuff, they are from season 5. Unfortunately, as I've talked about in my spoilers episode, that kind of ruins it. Like, there were a handful of episodes that I knew the ending because of comedy shows and popular culture in general. But they do have a couple of bangers, and they go out in style on season 5. So I would recommend watching it all. You don't really need to watch it in order. So if you find it somewhere and it's missing a couple of episodes, I think there's one that I didn't see, 1 or 2. But so you don't need to watch it in order, but I would but I would rank it like that. Season 1 on top, season 2 and 3 and 5 in second, and season 4 maybe in last place, but it's still pretty good though. It's all a solid show. So yeah, I guess this was a ranking of seasons episode. I could gladly talk about the episodes that inspired me and caused an impression, but I think it's best if I leave it open and I just talk about how good it is without describing the episodes. I don't know, maybe I should go back to it and do a spoiler episode where I get to talk about in more details of stuff, but I'm doing this transmission as I would hope someone else would talk about stuff. And just a friendly reminder, vinnythewonderful.blogspot.com and heyvinny@hotmail.com if you wanna send me a message, but only if you wanna. Okay, love you, bye bye. Okay, so I'm trying and I'm moving the thing around, so clearly if everything works, I will send this message way back in the past to the episode about Twilight Zone. I think it was episode 13. So hello from the future. Season 4. This is not gonna work. Obviously I can't send the message back in time, but if I could, I would say the number